What's good, y'all? Kev J back with another video. I know I said I want to make this channel like a call to action to hip hop. I have a couple ideas or a couple things I want to get off my chest, but today I want to treat today as like an honorary video, and what I want to honor is Mr. Pharrell Williams. Today or yesterday, because this will be out on the 26th, is the anniversary, the 17th anniversary to In My Mind, the album. Now, for me, Pharrell, I would say is a big figure when it comes to music. As a black kid growing up in suburbs and also the city at the same time, it's like, I was interested in multiple genres when I was younger because I didn't really like start getting heavy when I was searching for my own music until like I was in like seventh, eighth grade, and I was like deep diving, you know what I mean? Before then, it kind of was like I was just fed, with the radio and everything like that. And I kind of escaped that. Once I got to seventh grade, I got out of the programming. And once I finally started getting the music, I was trying to find my musical taste, what was popular back then, which is like '07, '08, was like Meek Mill, because I'm from Philly. So Flamers, the whole series, Flamers 1, Flamers 2, Flamers 2.5. Mr. Philadelphia, I think, came after that. And then Lil Wayne. So we're talking, the droughts, all the droughts. The droughts is over. I can't even count how many, the dedications. T.I. was popping back then. Ace Hood, you know what I mean? There was so many people hip hop wise that I was like, super influenced by, because that's what everybody that was around me was listening to. But for me personally, I was listening to stuff like The Fray with Over My Head, or One Republic, Apologize. You know what I mean? I remember listening to like these rock songs, these pop songs, but it never fully I can never fully relate to it because it wasn't what I was from, you know what I mean? It didn't really match my life or my background, but I was searching for something that kind of hit that emotion or that feeling that I was looking for. And when I listened to Pharrell, it's like it hit it like a nail, like I hit it with like a hammer on the nail. It was just like precision, precise. When I heard N.e.r.d. for the first time, I would probably say the first time I heard Pharrell was probably like when he was on his features with like Jay-Z. So we're talking like Change Clothes or Excuse Me Miss. But when I finally heard him on like Frontin', or like even with N.e.r.d., when I heard N.e.r.d. Maybe, and even N.e.r.d. Sooner or Later, I just knew like, yo, this is how I feel when I'm listening to like The Fray, or what that's emotion I'm searching for, because I'm looking for that rock kind of genre, but I want something that relates to it. It's still very hip hop, and N.e.r.d. is still very hip hop, even though it has rock influence. They have the guitars, they have the singing in there, but it's still super hip hop. And for Pharrell, man, it was like I didn't find out about In My Mind back then, maybe until high school. You know what I mean? Like I remember Can I Have It Like That coming out, and I remember number one with him and Kanye, but I didn't have like a computer back then to be able to search up and look for that album or even know the album existed. So when I finally found In My Mind, man, I have point of reference right here next to me, but off the rip, you know what I mean? Like, Can I Have It Like That? Just remember seeing that video. Gwen Stefani was such like at a high level at the time. We're talking Holla Back Girl, the stuff she was doing with the Harajuku girls back then. So to see him kind of like have that influence on culture, a different sound. The Neptunes always had their own sound, but Pharrell always stood out to me. And I understand like Chad always played the background, but Pharrell always stood out just because he always had that fashion aesthetic. Even with the jewels, man, it was crazy. And then when I finally started to hear this album, it's like it just kind of like it just spoke to me. The things he was saying, he was speaking to the youth. He wasn't shunning the youth. A lot of old heads in the rap game, they always be like, even coming up, oh, we don't know what we're talking about. The music is trash, stuff like that. No, he was speaking directly to the youth, like, yo, literally in his song, my nigga, you could do it too. And it's like, I feel like he just got it when it came to, when they always say each one teach one, or the children are the future. He got it and he preached that message. So like, let's go on through the track list. Like we already spoke about Can I Have It Like That, but how does it feel, man, when that beat comes in and that 4 count and he just starts, the hi-hats coming in, he's doing the ad-libs, woo woo, and it's just like he's spitting. The crazy thing about Pharrell to me, man, is people underestimate him as a rapper. I've never heard a bad Pharrell verse in my life. no matter if it's a feature or his own track. I'm not always into the super pop stuff he does, like with the Girl album, but when he raps, I'm listening. You know, I remember his verse on what's the joint with him and Twister, Lavish. He killed that verse. You know what I mean? And that's that era, bro, when he was just going ham and he was braggadocious back then. Nowadays, he's a little bit more humble, and I understand. You know, you live and you learn, you grow, but he was back braggadocious, but he had it. He backed it up. He was driving those foreign cars. You know what I mean? He was wearing the jewels, but he was putting in that work at the same time. Next track is Raspy. This is probably my least favorite on the album, but he's still spitting on this John, and the beat is just crazy. But just like the difference, you can just hear the difference in what he was doing compared to everybody else. And the fact that, like, I even remember I'm listening to, Tyler Creator is like one of his biggest fans, and he speaks about how Jimmy Iovine felt like In My Mind was a failure. In My Mind sold what? Let's see. I think it sold 140 first week. In My Mind sold 142 first week. Nowadays, that's a number one album. People are like, throwing parties because you sold 100K first week. Back then, it was a failure because people were selling like, this was brick and mortar back time. It wasn't. I think it might have been iTunes downloads just probably coming out, but people were still going to the store buying CDs. You know what I mean? Racking up on CDs, and if you weren't selling like 300K and up, it was seen as a failure, and that's crazy because 142 this today, you have a number one album, you probably charting for multiple weeks because the following week I think he sold like 60K. So the fact that that's a failure or seen as a failure is wild to me, but the influence that he had, and we're even talking like, if you want to even go back prior, when we're talking like In My Mind prequel that came out in April of that same year. This came out July 25th, 2006. In My Mind, the prequel came out April before that. And he just came off like it was a whole, it's an In My Mind prequel, so it was a Gangsta Grills with him and DJ Drama. Off the rip, he let it be known from the intro, like, this joint's gonna be nothing but heat. I'm about to just spit crazy, get my bars off, just flex on niggas. And like, you know what I mean? Like, he was talking like he says it on the mixtape. He says, I come from the era when Slick Rick was showing niggas they jewels, and he was calling niggas crumbs and all that. Like, you know what I mean? He made us just feel like, yo, you gotta get here to, to feel how this feels. You know what I mean? And Pharrell, man, he just translated that for me. He translated to the kids that was out there that felt like, I love hip hop, but there's more to just hip hop that you can add to it than just, the crazy trap beats or, the crazy, gutter gangster lane, you know what I mean? Like, Kanye was out back then too, because Kanye came out like 2005, I think, with Late Registration. With College Dropout. 2006 Late Registration. So Kanye West was well in the field, but Pharrell was out way before then too, just producing. He was out producing since Rump Shaker. You know what I mean? I don't think he produced the track, but he wrote Teddy Riley's verse on Rump Shaker. So he was out way before then. But the fact that he was making the lane for niggas that wasn't in the street, the backpack niggas, the niggas that was listening to, Diggable Planets or Native Tongues, Tribe. He is a crazy Q-Tip fan. And if you listen to Q-Tip, you'll even see he went straight from backpack. But then when he finally got to his own lane and he was really making money, he was out here, he made songs like Vibrant Things. You know what I mean? He was in the clubs working that music, because even though you heavy backpack, that's always your core. When you start making music, you start to see different things and you want to experiment with your music. And Pharrell showed that was possible. Let's go to the next track. Next track would be Best Friend. Now, this is a breakdown of him talking about his grandmother passing, I believe his mother passing, and just Chad being that friend for him, during those times, and telling him out like, yo, let it out. Don't bottle that emotion up, because that will really, it will either make you want to off yourself or make you go crazy. And the whole time, Chad is just like, yo, let it out, let it out. And just the fact that he was just, expressing those things in that album was I feel like that's one of my favorite tracks. I would say my favorite is How Do You Feel? Second one is Best Friend. Next is You Can Do It Too. That's probably my third favorite, but You Could Do It Too is literally talking to the youth. Like, when I even compared to like, we wouldn't have a Tyler Creator without Pharrell. So when I hear Tyler say like, my little nigga, the world is yours, you know what I mean? Or, and that was on Find Your Wings, or when he says stuff like, dye your hair blues, man, I'll do it too. You know what I mean? Like just those little key things when you're talking to the youth. Like Tyler's older than me. Like I'm 28 now, but back then I was even this album or Tyler's albums, I was in high school. So just to hear those little things of just like, yo, don't think that you can achieve this as well. Like, yeah, it's crazy that I'm getting here and I'm surprised that I'm even here, but you can do it too. Don't think that it's beyond your scope or whatever you see. And it just felt a way to be able to know that like no matter how far someone has gotten, they don't forget to look back and just get that inspiration to the kids that don't get the inspiration from seeing the rollies and seeing the lavish lifestyle of other rappers. They're telling you like, yo, you can do it too with the words instead of just showing all the stuff that they have. Let's see, Keep It Player. It's okay. It's not my favorite song because I'm not like a big Slim Thug fan, but it's a good song. That Girl, I like that song a lot actually. I like the video even more. But him and Snoop always great together. That beat is crazy too. But him and Snoop always great together. I believe the first song they did was Beautiful, and that was on Snoop's last album with Priority, which I think is what is it, the Chalice to the Palace or something like that. I forget what it's called, but it's around right before Rhythm and Gangsta, I believe. So That Girl, that Jones Fire, Angel, Young Girl with Jay-Z, another collab that's crazy. I'm just reading down the list at this point. Take It Off, Then the Lights, Stay With Me, Pusha T. I love that. I love that beat as well. Baby with Nelly, Our Father, number one. Number one is probably the first track that I was like, he's singing on there and Kanye's rapping, but that was like one of the first tracks I really paid attention to because there's not too many Pharrell and Kanye collabs. Yeah, they did CRS, Child Rebel Soldier, but we only got like 2 songs of that. You know what I mean? We got U.S. Placers and Don't Stop off of the Good Friday series, but I don't think there's any more. I have to look it up, but there's probably maybe one more Kanye West and Pharrell song, but there's not too many out there, so it's very obscure. Skateboard P presents Show Your Hustle with Lauren London. That's the other part, man. Seeing him like pop out with like Lauren London back in the front end video, and like she's like kind of throughout this whole album, even throughout the videos, you'll see her in there too. Like to see where she's at now and to see he had that vision for just like the beautiful woman that he was surrounding himself with, even on like the mixtape, you'll hear the interludes on there too. He just had like a vision to see like, who was going to pop next. And even like hearing him articulate during this time of how he just felt about what he was doing music wise. And I was listening to an interview he did with DJ Drama today, actually, for the Gangsta Real mixtape or podcast that DJ Drama has. And he spoke about how, he did fronting. He made fronting for Prince. Prince didn't take it, so he did fronting. And, he has like these over ambitions to go after these things. But once he actually does it, he kind of pulls back from it because he's like, man, do I really want to go on tour by myself? I like doing it with n.e.r.d, but by myself, it only makes sense. He does the mixtape with Drama, and he's like, man, I got into that heavy rapping lane and braggadocious lane, but once I got there, I was like, this isn't really me either. You know what I mean? So he's the kind of person to be like, he'll try it out, but it's not always him. And I feel like that's probably also with time as well, because back then he probably did feel like that, but now it's like, he's literally like the head of LV's menswear, you know what I mean? And he's got 4 kids, he got a wife, so your perspective just changes over time. But I would say the biggest thing in conclusion is just that thank you, Pharrell, for the contributions that you have given us. I'll probably go through even more with other things in the future, because I would say Pharrell, as I was thinking about this video today, all that work today, I was just thinking about what I was going to say. And I would say that, I'm speaking from the heart right now. I was going to write something down, but I want this to kind of be like a free flow when I speak on this channel. So I will say that when I started to think about today, I just realized you're at the core of everything that I really love in hip hop. When it comes to the fashion, you know what I mean? The artists I love, I love Kanye, I love Drake, I love A$AP Rocky. He's one of my favorites as well. And all these people hold you at a high regard. And I'm just looking back at the things that you were wearing back then, the things that you were saying in the articles that you were doing interviews with, and the interviews you do now. And I'm comparing it to the Drink Champs one as well, the one you did with Mark Ronson. And it's just like, you are the epitome of what I always wanted to be when it came to hip hop. You know, I used to rap a little bit back in the day, but now, even nowadays, of how I want to dress and how I want to upkeep myself and how I want to just hold myself as a man, man, the things you just inspire me with, man, hip hop, man, I could cry how much I love hip hop. You know what I mean? Like, hip hop was there for me at the times where my family wasn't, my friends weren't, I didn't have nobody. You know what I mean? So I just realized that today, like, I always loved you as an artist, but I'm just seeing that how much of a pivotal figure you were in my life when I was younger, and those melodies I'm hearing, those bars I'm hearing, and the fashion sense that you have, and the way that you just held yourself as a man, even to this day. You know what I mean? I remember being in high school when Move That Dope came out, and I'm seeing like you wear the Smokey the Bear hat. You know what I mean? And it just is like, even if this fashion is not always on key with what I wanted or what I would wear, it's just the fact that you want to push those boundaries. You know, you bought BBC to us. You know what I mean? You bought ice cream to us. You know what I mean? Human made now, and I hope I get a chance to get some human made as well. But just thank you for everything you've done, and I honestly have you probably, no, it's not even probably, you're number one. You know, Drake is my favorite artist of all time, but you're hovering above him at number one on my list when it comes to influence, because you influence so many things about my life and my taste in women, my taste in clothing, my taste in music. And you were there when I was confused about what kind of music that would actually speak to me, because n.e.r.d. was that when I heard Maybe. n.e.r.d. was that when I heard Sooner or Later. Still putting people onto your music today. You know what I mean? Like, I just love it. But in conclusion, that's the video. I just kind of wanted to do like a breakdown of, you know, a celebration for this album. If you haven't heard this album, I highly recommend you listen to this album. Again, my favorite tracks would be How Does It Feel, Best Friend, You Could Do It Too. Especially if you're younger, listen to You Could Do It Too. It might be a little off to what you usually like, because it's a little jazzy. You know, it's the music, it's a little bit more instrumental. And it's obviously, it's an older album. It's from '06, so we're talking 17 years ago. But honestly, to me, it still speaks true to today, even with Stay With Me and with and That Girl. So I would say check it out. The album starts off crazy with Can I Have It Like That? The beats is crazy. Neptune's never miss, in my opinion. This album is honestly timeless to me, but I can understand that if you're younger and you might think, you know, it just sounds a little bit older. But honestly, the sonics are amazing. Pharrell's always on point with that. The Neptune's peer are always on point with that. So I never doubt that. I never have in my mind that they'll put out a bad album. But yeah, that's everything, man. I appreciate your time. I'll be back. I'm going to do daily uploads at this point. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that I'm able to make this channel something. I want to solidify this. So I want to, you know, come with it something every day. Even, and like I said, I'm not gonna, maybe once in a blue moon I have something that I write down, maybe just like key points. I think I did that with the Flacco video, but I do want this kind of like be like a free flow of just like spilling how I feel about whatever topic, you know, I'll come with that day. But thank y'all for your time and enjoy the rest of your day.